I'm Jaan Kekišev and I'm Head of Tuul, the scooter rental service we run here in Estonia. And I'm here to talk to you the journey of how a B2B company, hardware company, Comodule, ended up expanding its portfolio into B2C services. And my presentation will be in two parts. Firstly, I will take you through the journey, how we got to the point where we decided, okay, we need to launch a service. And in the second part, I will talk more about what kind of approach we took to build the service and how have we, make it happen. But first, let's talk about how Comodule started. So we need to jump 10 years back in time. If you know, there's those competition called Student Formula, where engineering students come together to design and build racing cars, and then they race each other. And at that time, there was one team in Tallinn University of Technology who really loved to build stuff. And they were quite good at it. So they were one of the top teams in Europe. And one season they thought, hey, let's take up a challenge. Let's build an electric racing car. But you need quite a lot of money to do that. So they started to look around, and then they found this prototype program where you could, put together a business plan, pitch it, and then eventually get money. But little did the engineers know about business plans or pitching. They Googled a bit, and they even managed to put together a prototype of battery management system, and they were able to get 10,000 euros to start the company. Did it? Of course not. They put all the money into the racing car. They built the electric racing car. They went to the race, they crashed the car, they lost it, they lost all the money, the car was scrapped, they didn't have the company. But what did they have was the team that worked well together, plus even childish, but still a business plan. So then the core team ended the university and they thought, hey, let's try to pursue it. So in 2014, Comodule was born. Firstly, the idea was to target on smart battery systems, but quite quickly they switched into connectivity and Internet of Things. So going forward now, a couple of years, a lot of hassling, we are now in the nowadays, so what does Comodule do now? We connect light electric vehicles to the Internet. So we can take whatever light electric micromobility vehicle. Then we have developed this hardware that we produce here and develop and produce here in Tallinn. We have a factory, and we mount this hardware on the vehicle, and this hardware is capable of reading data from the vehicle and sending commands and then communicate with the outer world. We've built up an IoT data platform layer as well, where the connection will flow, where the data will be stored, and different developer tools as well. So this will enable to build different software tools, and this enables different use cases. So on simple terms, we're building mobile phones for light electric vehicles in order to make the vehicle smarter and communicate with the outer world. And we started off with e-bike manufacturers to make the bike smarter. So in Estonia, maybe you know Ampler bike, but in other countries as well, there's a lot of e-bikes. So you as a user with your app, if you want to control the bike or find the bike, somebody steals it, you want to find it and so forth, then you have this kind of IoT layer and connectivity layer in the middle, what we enable to do. In 2017, something happened that we call the e-scooter boom. So in US, an ex-Uber employee called Travis Vandersanden bought a lot of Chinese scooters, put them on the streets, and told, hey, I've solved the biggest problem of Uber, which is the driver. And people loved it. There was great traction. A lot of people started to use the new tools on the street. And Bird has been the fastest growing company to reach 1 billion valuation. And we were in the right time, in the right place. So we had the product ready, optimized for e-bikes, but it was for sure good for e-scooters as well. So everybody wanted to be Bird. So they flew to Tallinn, hey, let us be Bird, help us. So then we had exponential growth at that time. And we expanded our product or offering also to fleet operators. So it's not only the manufacturers of the fleet, but also the operating company as well. So we help those companies to have this kind of business model. And we are currently the global leader in bicycle and scooter connectivity. We've connected more than 300,000 vehicles all around the world. Our modules are running and sending data from every continent in the world. And in the early phases, then 30% of the sharing scooters were connected by us. So we had a very unique insight to the industry. And even though from outside it seemed the valuation of the company soared and it was very great, and we saw from the inside the model was broken. So things needed to change. So things what we saw, firstly the scooters didn't last at all. The first models put on the street, they lasted for 30 days. So imagine you put the scooter out, 1 month you have to scrap it. Secondly, the way the scooters were built was far from sustainable. So all the scooters are made in China, then they're shipped to US, Europe, put it on the street 30 days, or now maybe a bit more, scrapped again to the landfill. Thirdly, the way they were operated was far from sustainable. So you would think it's an electric scooter, so it would seem super green. But then again, if the scooter runs out of battery, then every night or during the daytime, they will go with vans, collect the scooters, drive them to the warehouse, charge the scooters, then bring them back one by one to the street. So the operations was not sustainable at all. And lastly, they were unsafe to ride. They were unreliable, they broke down, a lot of accidents happened. And as I told you, our founders really love to build stuff, and we saw that, okay, those problems can be solved with a better hardware. So we thought, hey, let's try to fix it. Several months of development later, boom, we had our own electric scooter. And then we saw, okay, we've created something really unique here. And I want to go over a couple of points why we think it's unique. Firstly, it's most durable scooter in the world. So in the sharing environment, it will last for 5 years. Now we're running those for 1.5 years, and really we can get the data in and say it's really true. It has very durable and high quality materials. Secondly, it's hyperlocal. As told, all other electric scooters are developed and produced in China. This is the only scooter that's produced outside of China. It's done here in Estonia, Tallinn. We have our own factory where we make our electronics and then assemble the scooters as well. So we control the whole production and the supply chain as well. It's most sustainable scooter in the world. So since we control the supply chain and we designed the scooter, then we took sustainability, a thing that we really wanted to target. So already 42% of materials going into the scooter is recycled materials, and in the end of the life cycle, 90% of the materials will be recycled. We designed the scooter to enable sustainable operations. So now this is getting more to be an industry standard, but when we started, then not. So we have swappable batteries. You open up the lid, and then you just go next to the scooter, you swap the batteries, and it's good to go. You don't need to bring it back to charge and so on. So actually, in Tallinn, we're swapping the batteries with Wok cargo electric bikes as well. So it's super efficient to go around the city and juice up the scooters. And we have designed it in a modular design way, so you can change part quite quickly, and even some repairs we can do on the street, so we don't need to bring it back for maintenance as well. And lastly, it's the safest scooter in the world with unmatched ride ergonomics. We did third-party evaluation. We gave our scooter and other scooters as well, and we really hit very good notes there. For example, the shortest braking distance. We have large pneumatic tires, which gives you less vibration, very smooth riding. So this kind of vibration test, we really beat at the competition. It has very robust steel frame for the stability, low center of gravity, and very wide standing board, what gives you better control. So these are nice things to put on slide, but you can experience if you ride it, then you will understand. So if you have one scooter and our scooter, then you would understand what I'm talking about. So we realized we built the best scooter in the world, at least in our head. It's the most durable, it's most sustainable, it's the safest, and it has unmatched ride ergonomics. But at the time, we knew that the new scooter is needed. We didn't have an exact plan what we would do with it. We knew it was needed, but we didn't have a concrete plan that we will sell it to other operators or we will operate it ourselves. But when we got the scooter ready, then we saw like, hey, it's so good, let's not sell it, let's try to operate it ourselves. And of course to get feedback as well for the scooter and make it better. But that was the point where we were a hardware company, and we were really pressured by time, and we understood we need to build up the service. So now I'm going to talk a little bit what kind of approach we took while building the service. So firstly about brand creation and service. I think brand and service, they always go very much entwined, so you need to look them together. Some pointers what we thought of. So first of all, we saw from the data in other countries as well that men drive with electric scooters anyways. It's harder to attract women. So we really wanted to build a feminine brand, and to succeed in this, then we put 3 women from our team to lead the creation of the brand and the service. So they will create the brand that they like and that would really communicate with our other women as well. Then we really wanted to be approachable and bring love and care. So industry standard for customer support is, for example, you have a problem on the street, you cannot even find the place where you have to contact. If you find it, it's usually email, then it takes 3 days until you get the reply. But you're next to the scooter, you need help straight away. So we decided to invest into 24/7 customer support line, so customers can call straight away and get help. Since Comodule already is very much the sustainability and green thinking is in our DNA, and the way how we designed the scooter, it was very much driven by the sustainability point of view. Then we knew that we can make zero compromises with sustainability when we build up the service and the processes. And lastly, especially important in cold, dark Nordic countries, it's very important to bring smiles and colors to the streets as well. And that's how the Tuul brand was born, with the mission to enrich the urban lifestyle by reducing ecological footprint, and the mission or the vision to creating premium convenience standards, sustainability and convenience standards for shared fleet. But we had a problem. We were in a rush. So that happened last year, early spring, and we really needed to rush to get the scooters out, because we knew that we have great hardware. So if people use it, they will love it and they will continue to use it. But the problem is to get them to try it. At that time, no other operator was live in Estonian, but we knew other operators will go live quite soon as well. So we really wanted to rush it to be the first one to capture on that opportunity. So then one approach what we took was MVS approach, minimal viable service approach. So we decided that we will develop the service critical parts, and if we have this ready, then we'll go live. So we knew it wouldn't be perfect, but person can still rent the scooter, ride it, end it. That's okay. We will go live, and we will start to improve the service when we're already live. And the second approach what we took, what really doesn't go hand in hand if you're short on time, but really works with MVS, is vertical integration. So if we've already designed the scooter, we're making the scooter ourselves, then we thought we want to own every value chain of the service by ourselves. So building the software side, building the operations and everything. So we have everything in-house. So the problem is that you need to put much more effort in there. It needs a bit more time to develop. But then again, we will get the fast innovation cycles and the speed of getting iterations out. So it goes very well with the MVS, where you have kind of a product that needs a lot of innovation, and you're able to bring iterations out quite fast. If you would have a third party involved, then you wouldn't be that fast. And in order to prioritize the developments and what needs to change, then we understood we need to build a very good feedback collection system and data collection system in order to make decision what will we solve in which step to maximize the impact. I will talk a little bit about vertical integration a bit, but just as a side note, our internal goal was to beat Bolt with launch with the scooters as an internal banter what we have with them all the time. And this was crazy 2 weeks, so that was last year in May. So even people from the office came to put the scooters together, make sure all the systems are working, make sure all the software is working and so on. And mission accomplished. We launched our service last year, 19th of May. We got 1 week of being present on the market without any competition, and we got a lot of users from the Kickstart that really loved our service. So that was a great success and great achievement for us. Then a bit from the vertical integration side and why it's important and how it ties together with the continuous improvement mindset. So as told, we developed the scooter, the vehicle, the battery systems, the IoT, the central control unit and the firmware. We have our own production. We do build the battery packs, with the electronics, assemble the scooter. And we also built the software tools needed, so the end user app for the user to communicate with the vehicle, but also all the operational tools, what we need on the street to find the scooters and to choose them and maintain them. And lastly as well, the operation part of it, charging the scooters, but maintaining them and customer support as well. So all of those steps are owned in-house. And the good thing is that you will get a lot of feedback, especially from the end part where you're more close to the consumer. You get a lot of information, data and feedback, and this feedback is valuable for each step in order to make improvements. And as a side note, if I would compare it with other big brands in the market, then we are the only one who has full vertical integration. The other big ones, they just buy the scooters from China, mainly 2 different factories make those scooters, and they're focused on the software development side, and often enough they outsource the operations and logistic part as well. But for us, if we have the operations in-house, then we get a lot of information from the street as well, from the operators. And how does it work in practice? So we have different channels where we collect data. For example, the in-app feedback for what users give to us, how did they like the ride or why did they like it. Also feedback from customer support channels like phone calls, email, social media. We have team and friends, whoever on the street will give us feedback. Sometimes we do focus interviews with customers or general service with the customers. Based on this information, on a weekly basis, we put together a customer report where we outline the customer satisfaction level, where outline the key issues raised and the priorities of the issues, and also suggestions came from the customers. And then this report is given to each of the teams who are responsible for different parts of the value chain. And each team is asked, how can we improve our line of work or our side of the product in order to increase the customer satisfaction. And this kind of cycle is it has worked very well for us. It's very motivating as well. So you see a problem in the system, you design a new way how to work or a new feature, you put it out, and a week later you can already get feedback. You can see if the problem what you had will go away. If it goes away, you're happy. If it doesn't go away, then you know your design wasn't right for that purpose, and you can redesign and reiterate. So you kind of have this good cycle of feedback coming in, and over time you would get into more and more detailed problems, and the customer satisfaction will go better and better and better. Oh, and yeah, getting quite close to the end of the presentation. I just wanted to paint out the very simple customer flow as well, or the journey. So firstly, you would have a customer having the need to move. He or she will either use the app to locate the scooter or stumble on a scooter on the street and use the app to open up the scooter. There's a scooter that is well maintained, clean, treated up and ready in the right place as well and ready for the ride. The ride experience is safe, fun and enjoyable, and in the end of the ride you would have the end session where it was fast, convenient, and done in a way that respects others. And this is very important for us as well, that we have our customers who we need to think of, but then we have a lot of non-customers as well who we need to think of. So we really have to make sure that the scooters are parked orderly on the street, because otherwise we might have a risk that we're not allowed to have this kind of operation. So we need to think even outside of our customers as well. And then of course you have a bit of marketing communication, so people know that you exist but also know what you stand for. And lastly, the ruthlessly working operations team that go around to make sure that the scooters are juiced up, they're clean, they're repaired and good to ride. And on the bottom you have the love channel of customer support, helping the customers on every step of the journey. And then I just wanted to point out a couple of examples as well, what we did, what we've improved over the time as well. So in the first, we just had a simple app where you could, if you're lucky, you could locate the scooter and you could open it up, put your bank details and ride it and end it. So first thing, what we did, we built the in-app feedback system. So after the ride, we could start to collect the feedback, and people can write what they mainly dislike. If they write what they like, then it's nice to know, but it really doesn't, help us forward. It's more interesting to hear what they didn't like. And then, yeah, some examples. In the beginning, the map UI was very bad. You couldn't even see the houses, so that we knew already that we cleared out, made it better. For example, we got indication from the customers that sometimes you go to the bubble where the scooter has to be, but it's not there. This GPS isn't always ideal. If it's, let's say, next to a very tall building, then you could lose the traction of the satellites. Then we put a buzzer button so people could more easily find the scooter, and then we saw this kind of claims came down. Then people were complaining that, okay, yeah, I'm walking to a scooter, but then somebody takes it in front of me, so I get the bad experience. So we put the reserve function, so if you want to use that scooter, it's a 3-minute walk, you can reserve it. Again, those kind of customer claims came down. So there's numerous different examples what we've done based on the data what we have gotten from the customers. And also, like from the hardware side, so some things that we can see ourselves, some things that come from the feedback. So you build a scooter, you think it's perfect, but you cannot think of everything, right? So for example, the front fork, the scooters in the sharing system in streets, they get heavy damages, so people don't take too much care of it. It needs to be super robust. But the first forward fork wasn't so robust, so the failure rate was a bit more than we expected. So for example, hitting a side curb many times in a row, then you can have this kind of defect, and the wheel doesn't go so well. So we saw, okay, this is a design flaw, information back to the vehicle mechanic team. They designed the new front fork. Now the problem, it hasn't gone fully away, but it's much less. Now they're working on another iteration again. Again, like standing leg, the first iteration, it should have moved very nicely, but over like 3 months, some of the legs didn't move so well. We looked into it, found the problem, designed a new one, no problems anymore. Then people started to write to us, yeah, it's a really nice scooter, but you don't have a bell on it. But we have a bell on it. It's a ring bell, but nobody found it. It's, by accident you can find it. Then very quick solution, we just put stickers on with a kind of arrow, there's a bell, and tried to do it. So this helped a bit, but it didn't solve fully the problem. So people really don't understand that kind of thing as well. So we need to rethink. But those kind of examples. I'm in the end of my presentation. Just some things that I want you to take together from this presentation. For us, great hardware was very helpful in creating a great service. Secondly, you can't foresee everything, so sometimes it's better to launch it than improve it over the time. And probably you would be more efficient to get to the perfect product than you would otherwise, build everything in-house before launching. Thirdly, the continuous improvement process really worked well for us. It's a very powerful tool. And I think you always need to have fun and enjoy yourself, because otherwise there's no point of doing stuff. Yes, thank you. So if you have time in Tallinn, then please download Tuul app, ride, enjoy, and give us feedback. It's very important for us.